Okay, welcome everyone. We have yet another awesome episode of MakerCast. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, MakerCast is a monthly live stream with makers from all around the world, with a changing cast of people every month. And this month I'm joined with an awesome set of people. Sorry, I just had echo from myself. Starting with our newest guest, first time on the MakerCast, Deborah, or GeekMomProjects. Then we have all-time guest Bleeptrack. Then Emily, davedarko, and MatouMakes. And maybe everyone can introduce themselves a bit, starting with Deborah.
All right. I'm excited to be here. I always love to show off my projects. Of course, they will all be LED related. I've been making for about 10 years, very active on Twitter, and I try to document my better projects that others can make on my blog at GeekMomProjects. And I'm very into wearables and LEDs, and especially any combination of the two that I can come up with.
Awesome.
Nice. Hi, my name is Bleeptrack. I'm a freelancing creative technologist. I searched for my job description for a while, and I think I finally figured something out. Well, I focus on generative art and procedural generation, and do digital tools to do such stuff. And I also love to convert procedural projects into physical stuff with laser cutters, CNCs, pen plotters, whatever I can get my hands on.
Awesome. And then Emily.
Hi. So I think this is my third time being on here, so thanks for having me on again.
For sure.
My name's Emily. By day, I'm a science writer. I write about scientific research as a day job in my free time. I make stuff. I don't know how I would describe what I do. I guess it's a mix of like, sort of body horror sci-fi stuff and like faux retro technology. I try to like bring in stuff like 1960s, 70s looking tech and mix it with things like teeth and hair and bones. So, yeah.
Love it. Dave.
Yeah. So I'm Dave, and I'm a maker when I'm not working on a web page. I'm a web developer. Why am I saying this? But I like to 3D print stuff and put paint on it. I did some PCB art, and I just do projects that sound interesting. And sometimes I'll just drop them somewhere and never work on them again.
We all feel that. Awesome. Matou.
Hi, I'm Matou, and I'm on the MakerCast for the third time. Very happy to be back, and also very happy to be here with Bleeptrack, who actually invited me the first time who got me into the MakerCast community. So, yeah, really nice. I'm a relatively new YouTuber. I started my YouTube channel last year to motivate myself to finish some project, and by giving myself a monthly upload schedule, and I've been doing projects ever since, mostly 3D printing. I want to do more things that are visually nice, like art and stuff. So might be talking about that later.
Awesome. I'm Timon. I'm the first time hosting MakerCast. I've been a guest a couple of times, and I had to pick up the torch this week. Let's see how this goes. I'm very excited. We have really cool stuff, I think, lined up here. And who wants to go first?
It's your ninth time, by the way.
My
11th.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the last 2 times. I feel weird being the host this time, but it's okay.
I had the feeling before.
Okay, if nobody raises their hands, I'm just gonna say, Dave, you're going first.
All right, that's good. It's very good, because then I can just do it and be quiet for the whole day or evening. So, I'm still in the spot where I like to work on projects for a day and not that much longer, maybe 2 days. And how do you do that? I don't know. I will ask you after this. So Recently, I found a 3D design file for the Joy Division logo art. That's also kind of what was it? Data from a meteorite? I'm not sure.
It was
Someone found.
I'm sorry. It was a space signal, right?
Yeah, something spacey stuff, and they were interested by the. They kind of liked the way it looked. The person that was working on the cover was like, that looks interesting. We're gonna put it on the album. And yeah, actually, I was looking for printing files when I stumbled over this, and then I noticed that this design was done by someone from my makerspace, from my hackerspace. It was an interesting coincidence. And Sam kind of used all the data of it and just twisted it at an angle, so it kind of looks cool. And isn't that much to print. And when I saw this, I immediately thought like printing this would be nice, and then give it a spray paint coat from that angle, so you just hit one side of the print, but not all of it, like the edges would show. And yeah, then of course add some RGB LEDs for fun. And this is what it currently looks like. It's very spotty. There aren't that many LEDs in there, and I probably have to get a bit further away from the LEDs so it looks cooler. But
that looks really
awesome.
cool.
Oh, it's amazing.
yeah, I was
In which
pretty happy
direction
about
did you
the outcome.
print that? Like, was it? Oh,
was
the frame
just-
is extra. Ah, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will just reprint the frame piece again, and then put it between this, and then it should diffuse it pretty well. I did the mistake of printing the top part in a very clear PLA, and I should have just used the white PLA instead, because that's a really good diffuser. And when I did the print in the clear material, I was actually able to read through it. I was testing it on my laptop to see how the lights diffuse, and I was able to read anything under it. So yeah, I had to print another layer of the white PLA to get some diffusion.
Wow.
Can you put a layer of paper below it? Does that change anything?
I think the LEDs are still too close to
Too
the.
close.
Can just try it, but it's 3 layers of white PLA there between it now, and this is what the paper still looks like. It's very spotty as well, and then
Oh yeah.
so distance should fix this.
Yeah. So I don't know if this would be practical for this project, but something that works really well, that maybe for something else or anyone else who's interested, if you have a broken computer monitor or like a broken LCD TV, there's a bunch of diffusion layer sheets, because they have a backlight with a bunch of bright LEDs, but they use these like really thin Fresnel lenses, and it's like 4 or 5 sheets, and then like just a white sheet. And it'll turn very bright spots of LED light into full diffusion in like, the thickness of a couple sheets of paper. So they're really, really handy for diffusing LEDs if you ever need to do that in a compact space.
Okay,
Interesting.
That's my light currently. The light shining on me, that's an old TV screen with LEDs behind it.
very nice. But
Dave, is there a
added more
generator?
LEDs.
Oh, I just want to ask, is there a generator for the STL files, or did the person like build the one file and release that, or is there like a generator where you could throw in your own, I don't know, data stream or something?
That would be very nice, but Sam found found every layer of the
see.
print
Okay.
and then twisted them or rotated them at an angle. Where I was thinking about doing something else, like maybe use a sound file, and then you have the frequency analysis, and then just time for time bit, you have something that looks like the wave at that point. That would be interesting.
Yeah, sounds cool. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was supposed to be a fun, quick little project, and now I have to reprint stuff and glue everything together, and I will totally do that. But yeah, so this was one of the projects that I did, and I have I found something on Tindy recently. That's an LED game, basically. That's this is where should I put it? Here. This is a Tic Tac Toe game, and I found it on Tindy, and it was pre-programmed, but the fuses weren't set right, so it was supposed to be running at 16 megahertz, but it wasn't set, so it uses the crystal. I was just running on the 1 megahertz internal frequency, so it was actually 16 times slower than it was supposed to be. So the start animation of it was running for 32 seconds until you were able to play it. That's not from me, but thanks. I do sell stuff as well, but I was just I think I saw it on Twitter. It was being promoted, and I thought it was very cheap, kind of like, or not that expensive. Even with shipping, it was like 30 euros or 35. Yeah, it was a fun project to solder. But the other day I decided to make a little live stream and talk about programming it, and I think it was, well, it was okay. I expected more from the live stream, but I was kind of nervous, and then I was getting tired. So, but in the end, I was able to get something that you can actually play, because there was no. The power bank went off. There was no recognition of when you were winning anything. Like, there was no. What is it called? Anyway,
Winning state.
Yeah, there wasn't, basically, there was a very crude state machine where you were able to just click on until everything is full, and you had to reset yourself. So,
Is it one player or two player?
it's 2-player. It's a Tic Tac Toe.
Okay.
You're just trying to find the
Cute.
right. So in the end, I was able to show on this thing when someone won and what color won. So that was pretty cool. But it took me like 3 hours or 4 hours of live stream. And I was talking about how you can maybe write an enemy where you can play against the machine, and it would decide on which would be the better decision to make, and what kind of combinations you start with. Stuff like that. That was kind of fun. Yeah, in the end, I had something that was a bit better. I was then sending in the code and wrote a little review on Tindy, as one should do. Yeah, that was kind of cool. Right. And the third thing that I brought for this, well, bringing anything here is, I just have everything here, but I found this little amp the other day. It was empty, so I'm calling this empty with an A. It's a very good pun. I'm very proud of it. But yeah, so there was nothing in there, and I took it apart, and then I removed all the red pieces here, and thought I can maybe just paint it red and then see how it looks. And when I was done with the red parts, I thought, maybe I can just paint the case purple. And I don't know, I think purple and red work very well, not very well together. So you're kind of allowed to do it, but I don't know, it looks kind of poisonous.
I like it.
Yeah,
me too.
What are you going to put in it? Is it still going to be an amplifier?
Probably not.
Okay.
So I'm in looking into Eurorack things and making music with electronic stuff. I'm not really. I just like the technical part of it. I'm not so into doing the music itself right now, but I also bought a 400 euro instrument the other day, so I should commit a bit more. But anyway, I 3D printed some I call it rail mounts or rack mounts. This is a 1 centimeter aluminum bar, like 1 by 1 centimeter, and this is the second version of the rack mount. I was following a dimensions plan, and it was going from 0 to 128.5 millimeters, but I forgot to remove the 3 millimeter that there was on the dimension sheet. So the first one was too big, and I had to redesign the mounts a bit, and then this will fit Eurorack modules now. But I already have a Eurorack module case, so I should fill that one up first, and maybe just leave this in a corner somewhere. I don't know. It's kind of a cool case because you can put something in there that's 30 centimeters, so I kind of like it because it's a good number. I don't know. Yeah, that's about it.
Awesome.
Nice.
How long was I talking?
Wait. Oh, that one. Okay. Who wants to go next? Or is there any questions, actually? Yeah, you showed 3 projects here. So
I'm curious. What is the Eurorack module you bought?
Well, it's not a module, actually. It's the MS-20 from Korg. It's a whole synthesizer with keyboard thing, and you have like 2 oscillators that you can manipulate, and then some filters, and everything is in there, and you get a whole book of combinations on what settings you can set, and then you get a clarinet or violins or a Hammond organ. So many options. Something with a guitar amplifier thing. It's pretty wild. I was playing Doctor Who themes and lots of soundtracks actually. Enterprise.
Yeah, the whole Eurorack thing is very fascinating. Like I'm into neither, but I really enjoy hearing and listening to people working with that. So I get that you are fascinated without actually wanting to make music.
Yeah.
Can I just say briefly that between the Germans and the Americans, I feel like it's kind of AMSR or ASMR. I always get that wrong with the German speaking. And then when we Americans jump in, it's like, boom. Just a brief observation.
I didn't notice. Okay.
Anyway,
Nice.
The expense I'm sorry. I was just going to say the expense of the Eurorack modules, just modular synthesizers. Like, I really want to get into that as a hobby, but I just can't. I can't do it because I can't spend like $500 or $300 on each piece. Like, I just I keep wanting to, but
it's quite the investment.
Yeah.
You have to make friends with somebody who makes them, and then do the demo testing. Thea Flowers does some really nice looking ones, and
She does. Yes. Fantastic stuff.
Mm-hmm. Also, Circuit Python, which I think is really cool.
Sorry. The 3D printed signal thing that you showed in the beginning, that reminds me, I saw once an art sculpture, someone 3D printed a speech by Obama and put that into a tube, and that looks similar. And that's actually, you can actually read that out. So they put some kind of laser reader on top of that. And I actually have found a picture, so I could also share that if that works. And that looks pretty similar, so that was super crazy. Wait, that was the wrong button. Where's the share thing here? Here, this one.
Cool.
So, that looks cool.
Yeah, so there's this audio file in here, and there's some reader that can read it out again. So that's also pretty cool, and that's 3D printed.
That is very full circle meta kind of.
Yeah, right.
It's like an oversized vinyl in the end, or I mean, okay, it's an optical pickup, I guess, but working principle kind of the same. Awesome.
You guys remember when they were trying to, someone was trying to make a record player, like a vinyl record player that would use a laser to read the vinyl so you wouldn't wear your vinyls out, so you didn't have a needle, but I don't know what happened to it. Like maybe, I remember they had a lot of problems because dust particles were really loud. Like on a normal vinyl, you hear the dust as little crackles, but I think with the laser, the dust was really, really loud. But I don't know whatever happened to that project.
So it's like a cross between a CD-ROM and vinyl, like half and half.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. There aren't any more questions. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Pick one. Or Matou.
Matou, please.
Yeah, I picked myself. Yeah, so I also made art, 3D printed art. It's here in the background. And actually, first time I was on the MakerCast, I told this story because back then there was in November, I think, or October, a friend of mine and we just had won the 3D printing competition that we participated in, and we participated with these art sculptures. And well, the competition was actually to create a 3D printable product and to like pitch it and market it. But we were more interested in making something cool. And yeah, so I talked a little bit about, we actually also got this super cool trophy. I think I didn't have that back then. That's also 3D printed from metal. So this is super heavy.
Nice.
And that's a pretty cool 3D printed thing. Anyway, we worked on our art sculptures these last few months, and we now actually made them available. We now have a generator on our website for people to use for free, and they can generate these cubes. And how these cubes are generated, so you can input pretty much whatever you want. And our idea is that you input some of your memories, such as, I don't know, souvenir photos from your holidays or from your wedding day or something. You can input that, and then we have an algorithm that turns that into an art sculpture, and then you can 3D print it. We're still thinking about maybe building them ourselves and maybe also do some metal 3D prints like this. Yeah, but that turned out to be not super easy, so we're still working on that. But the generator is now available, and I can also show that. I have that open now that I know how to share my screen. I think, where is it? There it is. Okay, so are we visible yet?
Yes, it's a bit weird.
Okay, cool.
Is this so weird?
So we made a website. It's available under haptic-bytes.art. I'm not sure if is the URL visible. I can send it to you later, and we can maybe put it in the description. And then we have this generator page, and there is a JavaScript implementation of. So we built this on OpenJS Cat, it's called. And yeah, so the model is completely built in your own browser, so you don't even need to send us the files or anything. You can either on the website, you can generate a random cube, or you can input any file from your computer. Is there something changing there? I don't see anything changing. Oh yeah, it is. And yeah, and then you can, if you want, you can also play around with some parameters here. So you can play around with the thickness of the things and the size, and you can make it huge. And we also added some supports, which I wanted to make them in a way so that you can still see the inside and it doesn't use too much plastic or material when printing. But yeah, they work okay, but yeah, it's not perfect. I might need to update that. Yeah, and then you can generate the STL, just an STL file directly in your browser and download it. So let's go back to here. Yeah, so and we call that a data cube. And we also, in the 3D printing challenge, we also participated with a second algorithm. We call that a bit tree. So this algorithm also takes arbitrary input, and then according to the digital input, it uses that to grow a tree and to like form these branches and leaves. So every time you input it, it will have different branches and angles and twists and stuff like that. That's not available yet, so we want to, but this is super hard to print. So I tried to print that in the FDM printer, and I wasn't able to remove the supports from that without breaking everything. And then I tried to print it in small chunks and glue it together, but they would tip over during printing. So in the end, I settled so the bottom part is FDM printed and the branches are printed in my SLA printer over there, and then glued together and then spray painted, which looks super cool. But we didn't want to put up a generator like this because it's really not ready to do anything cool. But with the SLA printer, you can actually print these in super tiny as well. So this is the same tree in very, very small. And
that looks like elderflower.
Right,
yeah.
Blooms.
And transparent resin here. It's not super visible, but yeah, they look pretty cool as well.
Awesome.
But have you tried illuminating that from the base? Because that would look really cool. Just an
Yes,
LED
I did.
base.
We actually have a picture on our website of that. I can share that again. Chrome tab. There's the website, and that's the whoops. The other side, need to go back one here, the picture on the left. So, yeah.
Cool. Almost looks like a rendering.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Yeah, and also the picture of the cube. That's the bigger cube I have here. That's illuminated from behind. So yeah, I think that also kind of looks like a computer-generated picture, but it's a photo as well.
So awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, so yeah, people can. And I think I put the video up on Friday, so that's on my YouTube channel. If people, we tell the story of how we participated and we show the website. So if people want to learn more about that, they can visit that. And yeah, and I have a second project that I did since the last time I was on the MakerCast, and that was actually a cable camera system, and I have that prepared here. Oh yeah, thanks for the link, Timon. That's yeah.
I'll add to the description too, so you can find it later.
I need some power here. I need to plug that in. And what I'm trying to build, so this project is by far not finished, but I did the first part, and that's. Come on, move. Yes, it's moving. That's this little cable camera system. So, and
that's cool.
Yeah, so I got inspired by these cable cameras that they have in like sports stadiums,
Right.
or it's big sports events or big music events, and I noticed that a lot of YouTubers started to build camera arms and maybe automated camera systems, and I really wanted to have something like that, and I thought a system like this would be pretty cool. And also, you may notice I put a 360 camera on here, so I don't need a gimbal to move the picture around. It just films all around, and then I can choose where it looks in post, which is super handy. At the moment, it's not really usable for nice camera shots because it's very unstable, so you can see it wobbling around and moving around a lot. That's why I will still be working on this probably for a while. Next improvements are to improve the pulleys that it's mounted on. So I have 4, actually I can show it a little bit. So I have these pulleys up here that are 3D printed, and I'm noticing that that the
It
bolt
skipped.
is unscrewing here. Also, it's not on the pulley; it's actually it dropped down. Yeah, so I will be improving these. That's one of the next steps. How it's controlled. There's these stepper motors, like 3D printer stepper motors, with winches here, and that's pretty much it. So I have 4 of those, and it's controlled with an ESP32 development board here. Whoops. And yeah, and then I have 4 stepper motor drivers for the motors. And I wrote the code from scratch, and I might switch to something like a CNC firmware, open source CNC firmware, but maybe I'll stick to writing it from scratch because I also want to learn about this kind of stuff. Yeah, we'll see where this project goes. I think I really like this. That's a lot of fun to think about this and how to do the math, how it has to move and stuff like that.
So cool. Yeah, I can highly recommend watching your video. Like, it was so fun to see that wobbly cuteness flying around your room. Yeah, super awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, I would actually love to have something like that in the studio, like in the corners. I thought it would be cool to have it in the corners, mounted in the corners of the room, and then be able to just go everywhere. However, that's not as easy as it sounds because there's usually stuff in the way, like furniture and lights. And, well, this thing has cables, 4 of them, so they have to go somewhere when the camera is moving.
I could imagine that it gets quite difficult to like walk through the room if like you have cables everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when someone built a 3D printer that was basically similar to this? Like the print head was hanging where the camera was, and they used it to build a 3D printer that was like the size of a room. You guys remember that?
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Cool.
I don't think the resolution was really great because of like how wobbly the string was and everything, but they used it to build a really giant printer in some room somewhere. I think it was mainly as like an art project, like a demonstration rather than like a practical piece of technology.
You could do something like that. Just attach a can of silly string to what you have now and just a depressor like mechanism.
Right.
Little piles. That'd be the quick way to do it.
Yeah, I would actually love to make something practical out of it. Oh, there's a question. Did you entangle yourself with the fishing line when the cam was set? Well, the string tangles a lot, actually, mostly when it slips from the winches or from the pulleys. And I sometimes walk through it because it's really thin string, might not even be visible on the stream. Yeah, that can be an issue. And also I needed a lot of string. Like, this is really long. I did not expect that in the beginning.
Very nice.
Awesome. Any more questions? I don't see any. Okay. Well, awesome project. I always wanted like a movable camera thingy in my room as well, but the task itself seems very daunting. So props for trying. Even like, that's really cool.
I mean, I'm hoping to make this available or to have it usable and then make it available. And, yeah.
That would be really awesome. I think a lot of people would love that.
Timon, you. I mean, I know you're not talking about your projects yet, but you built a camera moving, like a camera rail sled thing.
Oh no, I just bought one. I was
okay.
I went the lazy way.
Okay.
But Blitz City DIY made a really cool DIY camera slider thing, like with motors and stuff. So if anyone is interested in just that, check that out. Okay, who wants to go next?
I'll go.
How about you, Emily?
Okay. What have I been working on? A lot of things, I guess. I just finished a project this past week. It's this thing. It's going to take a minute to like start up, but this is a thing that I had wanted to, like, the idea for this came to me like over 2 years ago. And the idea was to make like a video game that is just an eyeball simulator. And like, all it does is like, you get to control an eyeball. And so that's what I've built here. It has a joystick that moves the eye around. It has a couple controls here, and then everything's displayed on the screen right here. I'm gonna go ahead and plug it into power and let it boot up so I can show everyone. It'll take a minute. Yeah, this took a lot of work. All right, so it has like a little like startup screen. Let me get in front of the camera. I tried to make it look like a real piece of software. There you go. It's called Your Pet Eye. And it's like a piece of educational software, and it gives you instructions. So it'll run through those. But I had this idea like 2 years ago, and I wasn't able to do it because I just didn't know how to make the code work. Because it's a lot of it's hard to like fit all the code for moving all the graphics around in an Arduino and like have the resolution high enough and have it put that output to a composite video. There's a library for Arduino that does composite video, but it really takes up a lot of the resources, like the processing resources in an Arduino. So it was hard to figure out how to use that library and also have all the graphics do everything that like they needed to do for this. My friend Roger helped me a lot because he knows like all kinds of little tricks about like where to stash things in memory and how to move arrays from different places in RAM and whatever. But yeah, okay, so it booted up. So you've got an eye here, and if you move the joystick, the eye moves, so you can make the eye look around. Just like a real eye, it blinks on its own, but there's also a blink button right here. So you press the blink button and it blinks. And, and this right here is a light sensor,
cool.
so the pupil size changes.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, I made this out of a bunch of stuff that I had around. Like the joystick was from a RC airplane controller I found in the trash. That's a piece of walnut. I had some walnut left over from a project. This case was like a motor speed controller that I was going to use to control a big motor, but the electronics burned up, so I just saved it. I don't remember what this handle came from, but yeah, it all came together after 2 years of like wanting to do it. I finally got it done, so I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, it's just, you know, it was one of those projects that like I kept having to put on the back burner because I kept running into technical issues, and I'm really glad to finish it because it was, you know, sort of nagging at me all this whole time that like it was something I wanted and I couldn't do it. But it's done now, and in 3 minutes, well, like 2 minutes now, I'll show you what it does after a while. There's like a little sleep function programmed into it. So you'll see. But besides that, I don't know. I was experimenting a little bit with 3D printing techniques for this project too, like post-processing. So like this box here on the back, this is 3D printed, and I tried to make it look like the rest of the case.
It looks totally like a metal
looks so amazing. Like the whole technique is
identical.
Yeah. And so I experimented a little bit with like post-processing here, and what I ended up coming up with was, so I 3D printed it like normal like FDM printer. I sprayed it with primer to kind of fill in the layer lines, and then I wet sanded it to smooth it out. And then what I did was, you can buy like hammer tone paint, which, oh, all right. So I finally went to sleep. So let me show you that real quick. So see, it gets sleepy, and then now you just have to turn it off. But yeah, it gets sleepy after a while.
Cool.
Anyhow, there's this hammer tone paint you can buy that's sort of metallic paint, but it has a texture, so it gets sort of like ripply, and you usually see it on like machine shop stuff, like bench vices and bench grinders and drill presses. It's sort of like, I don't know, like it has like an orange peel texture, but it's metallic. So what I did was I painted this with a few coats of that. First like a black metallic and then a silver metallic. And I let that I let that dry, and then I took Vaseline and I like dabbed Vaseline onto the edges and corners, and then I sprayed the yellow over that. And so the Vaseline acted like a resist, so the yellow couldn't stick there. So after the yellow dried, I just sort of wiped it, and like any of the yellow that was on the Vaseline, it just like wiped off and left the silver showing underneath, and it looks like chipped metal. So I was like super happy with how that came out, because it worked really well. So
such a genius idea. Like it worked out really, really well. It's super convincing.
Yeah, I'm super happy with it. I think I might do a little video explaining it, because I was not expecting it to look as good as it did, and it really does. So I don't know, maybe other people would like to see how to do it. So yeah, that was a big project. I've been working on that one, like actually working on it for like 2 months now. And then I don't know, besides that, what else? For people who follow me on Twitter, they know I like to go thrifting, but other people might not. So I go thrifting a lot. And 2 days ago, I went thrifting and I found one of these. It's a Speak and Spell, which like these are, I mean, they're not like as rare as hen's teeth, but you don't find them around that much anymore. And I've been looking for one for years, just at a thrift store, because like I could go on eBay and buy one for like, probably, I don't know, $30, $40. But I went to the thrift store and I got this one for $3, but it didn't work. So I spent yesterday trying to figure out what was wrong with it. And like surprisingly, there's a lot of like weird engineering in this like dumb little children's toy. Well, I guess probably not everyone knows like about a Speak and Spell, right? So like maybe I should turn it on for people that don't know. So Speak and Spell, it was this like learning toy, and like it talks. So and it has this like cool robot voice. But let's see, it gives you like where is it? How do I do this? I forget how to do this. It gives you words, and you're supposed to spell them. So let's see. Oh, I know. You press on, and then you press. Built. I think it said built. Sometimes it's hard to understand it. U. I. L. E. That is correct. Now spell cousin. Anyhow, I got this, and I was very excited, and it didn't work. But there's a lot of weird engineering in here. Like it runs on four C cell batteries, so 6 volts. But it has like a crazy power supply that they built into it that puts out negative 3.5 volts and negative 12 volts, and the power supply didn't work. And like the part I was troubleshooting it yesterday, and the part that was burned up, I found a part that was burned up, and it was like an obsolete part that probably no one has made since like the 80s. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing, but I ended up subbing in another part, and it works. So I'm pretty excited about that. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Some people circuit bend them, but I kind of don't want to ruin it because they're not so common anymore. But I don't know. I don't have a lot of need for like a toy for children from the 80s and 70s. So I don't know, but I'm pretty excited that I got it working again.
I would love to see some weird thing done to it. So.
If it could read if you could have it like stream your texts to it and then just read them out to you in that voice or something.
You know what? I have a thing like that. 1 second. I think it might be sitting right here.
But is it actually able to make a word or?
Well, somewhere in my boxes of junk sitting right here, I have a module that was made by Parallax that does that, and the voice is very similar to the voice. Yeah, here we go.
So are these words formed, or is it just the word is stored in there?
Wait, all right. We have a question.
Is it generated?
All right, we have 2 questions here. So someone asks what part did I replace? It was a PNP transistor. This thing has like a very crude switch mode power supply in it, and it uses kind of a crazy thing in that there's no hard on-off switch in it. So you press the on button, and the on button like kick starts the switch mode power supply, and there's a transistor that like does that kick starting. But it was a PNP transistor, but it was a 1 watt PNP transistor, which like I didn't have on hand. But anyhow, Matou, what were you asking? Someone was asking. Oh, say
I was
okay.
asking.
Dave.
Yeah, no worries. So is it generated, the words that it's talking, or is it stored? Has it stored the words that it's saying?
Oh yeah, so I think it does have like a list of words that are like in there, but the audio for the words isn't pre-recorded. There's a chip in there. I don't know if it was made by like General Dynamics or some company that's not around anymore, but it has phonemes in there. So it sort of has like all the word parts for like a big list of words broken down, and then it does like some real basic analysis to say like if you put like a T in front of an E, then like that's going to sound like T, and then it finds the phoneme that's in its RAM or in its ROM, and it assembles the word out of its little pieces. So
Nice.
I've seen an Arduino library that supports this like really old data format where you can like make your own voice data set and then use these speak and spell chips to like
yeah. I was playing with that Arduino library a few years ago. The only thing about it is that it has like, I don't know, like it had like something like 200 words, which seems like, oh, you could write a lot of sentences with that. But I immediately found like I couldn't write half of anything I wanted to write with it because like it would just be like, oh, well, there's no word for that. It doesn't have bird. It doesn't have hand. Like a bunch of like really simple stuff because, you know, the vocabulary for the English language is so big that like, what do you pick? And it ended up being like a lot of the words that were in the library were words from this chip that was like, I guess designed for the military. So there was a lot of things like aircraft and like missile and stuff that's not useful to me. So I ended up not using it. But yes, the Arduino library I think was heavily based on the ROMs that were in that chip.
So for bird, you would say animal that looks like missile or something.
Right. This thing, this is called an EMIC 2, made by Parallax, I think it was. And this thing is pretty cool. It does a very similar thing in that it puts phonemes together, but you can send it text via like a serial connection. Just send it the letters and then it'll read them out. And it has a much, much, much larger like vocabulary library. So here I just have it connected to an Arduino Nano and a little amplifier. So I can program whatever I want into the Arduino. I could just have it read off like a whole list of words, and then it sends them over to this board, and then the board outputs the audio signal to the amplifier, and then that'll go out to a speaker. So this one's really neat because it's a lot more flexible, and it also has several voices in it. It has like, I don't know, 5 different voices, like some like husky old man voice and like a young woman voice, and I don't remember what else, but this is pretty cool. I just haven't used it in anything yet. I don't know what else. I was playing also with, I guess my last thing is I have been playing around with building like lithium ion battery packs because I have some battery packs from those like rental electric scooters. They were like they were dead battery packs, and they have like 40 18650 cells in them each. But the battery packs are dead, but a lot of the cells are not. Maybe like, I don't know, maybe a quarter of the cells are no good, so the battery pack doesn't work. But that's a lot of, it's still like 30 cells in each pack to be harvested. So I've been playing around with those things, and I had to build a 3-cell battery pack last week for the first time. I'd never done that before because I needed it to power this guy, because this guy uses a lot more current than my projects usually do because it's got a CRT in it. But yeah, I built this battery pack and it works pretty nicely. It's like a 12-volt battery pack, and just a little tiny board inside of there, and it's just soldered onto those batteries. So yeah, I think that's everything.
Nice.
Awesome.
I have a question about the eye simulator.
Yes.
Especially the knob. The knob seems not
Yes.
stock.
Yes.
I think you forgot to talk about that.
Right. So the knob, I made that on my lathe because the stock knob, never mind. I'm not gonna try to unscrew that. It takes forever. The stock like joystick had like a little metal, like aluminum knob, and I don't know. I guess it's fine for flying an RC airplane, but it didn't look very nice, and it didn't feel very good in your fingers. It was rough, and so I actually have them here. A friend of mine gave me a bunch of these pen blanks that you can turn on the wood lathe. So if you want to make like your own like fancy ballpoint pen or like fountain pen, they have these acrylic blanks, and I don't know, they're just like, I don't know, they're like resin plasticky stuff that come in different colors and they're swirly and whatever. And I just put one in the wood lathe and I turned it using my wood turning tools, and I made that little knob right there. So
Nice.
Your lathe skills are quite amazing, I have to say. Like, I tried it a little bit at home here, but it's just what turned out is never really showable.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't have any right here, but you know what? Like, I have so many that I've done that just look awful, and I just like never posted pictures of them. So many fails because like, you know, you're turning them and then they shatter into a bunch of pieces, and all the pieces fly all over the place in the garage, or like your tool catches and then it puts a huge gouge, and there's like, oh well, that piece is done. Like there's like by the time you try to like fix the gouge, like there's no wood left. Or maybe just sometimes you like turn the wood in and it just doesn't look very nice. So, you know, like don't get discouraged. Like, I mean, I have so many that look bad. I mean, there's a candle holder I made. But you know, some look good and some look bad. Just, I don't know. Don't get discouraged. It's discouraging. I know, like I get discouraged a lot.
Sure. It looks so easy when you see people do it, you know, and then you're like, oh, cool, I try that. And then you're trying it and it's just like, yeah, not working out at all at first.
Yeah. I mean, you know, to be honest, like some of it is skill for sure, skill and practice, but also some of the people that are really good at it, they just have really, really good tools, and tools aren't everything. You know, someone who's really skilled can make nice things even with bad tools. But if you're just okay at something, if you have good tools, like it'll go way better. Because like people have like,
tools are.
Yeah, when you have like the very good quality steel ones, or you have the carbide lathe tools, and they stay really sharp for a long time, like then it just makes it so much easier. Like it cuts the way you want it to cut, and it doesn't catch, and it doesn't tear the wood, and like, you know, the tool goes in the direction you want it to. So yeah, it's some of both. I have some good tools and some bad tools, and like the good tools make it just so much easier.
Yeah, for sure. I also noticed that, like in the beginning, you tend to use like, okay, you're starting out with a hobby, and you don't want to spend immediately like a lot of money, and then you get the cheap tools, and it can be really frustrating. And most of the time, it comes down to just having a very bad tool.
Yeah.
It definitely.
I ordered one set of tools. They were like nice tools, and I got excited because it was a good price, and I ordered them on eBay. And it was like a good brand, like vintage tools from probably like the 70s. And I ordered them, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have like a whole set of cool tools. And they came, and they were like this big. They're like baby tools. I was so upset. I didn't realize that they were so small, and I was like, what am I gonna make with this? Like, I mean, I still use them, but you know, the real lathe tools are like, you know, how do I get on camera? They're like long, and mine were like this big. So
I had the exact opposite experience. I ordered some lathe tools, and from Amazon, like I thought they would be like this, and it turned out it would be like, my arm length basically.
Yeah,
it's just like, where do I store this? But,
yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much wall space left there.
Yeah.
There's a blank wall behind you.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions? Oh, Emily, with that. Well, I mean, probably not possible, but
Am I able to go around my work area? Gosh, can I? Well, all right. I'm gonna try. If I lose Wi-Fi signal going out to the garage, like, sorry, but I'll try. Let's see.
That's determination. I would be scared of that.
Let me.
And we lost.
It's okay. I just had to switch webcams.
Okay.
All right. So this is one work area, which is my dining table, which is covered with the floor.
Let me switch.
The living room. But I'll go to the garage here because I do most of my work in the garage, and it's a disaster out here. So You
I
guys
have
get
the
a little tour here. So here's my workbench,
Woohoo!
completely
Very
covered
nice.
in stuff.
That makes me so happy to see that. I cannot
Me
tell
too.
you.
Complete disaster. I
No,
couldn't even close the drawers. Yeah, what, Deborah?
I know it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Trust me.
This is my
Very
table saw.
relatable, definitely.
Table saw is like completely covered with stuff. So every time I want to use the saw, I have to move all those things. This is my bench for my bench grinder and my disc sander and my bench vise, and it is also covered in stuff. And like here on the floor, like there's my scroll saw, and like there's like chunks of wood, and like over here is my lathe and my drill press and my bandsaw, and like here's another big pile of junk. So it's a huge mess out here. But yeah, that's it's the workshop.
That's an awesome space. Really cool tools.
I have the exact same insect door thingy for my balcony. That's so weird to see the stripes and the thing. But they're probably from the same Chinese company. So
Probably. My back door doesn't have a screen, and so if I leave the door open in the summer, just all kinds of flies come in. So that thing's very helpful. Anyhow.
Okay, I think that were all questions. If anyone, anyone have still questions, or who wants to go next? If not,
Sabine, if you want to go, I'm
Sure.
fine either way. Okay.
I can go, sure. Well, I have 3 little things to show. And Timon, maybe you can add my shared screen also. So the first thing is a bit more on the software side. So half a year ago, my friend Blinry and I got funding to build a learning game for Git. And we called it My Git. And we tried to make Git a bit more fluffy and a bit more fun to learn, because I think everyone who's into software or touches software development will use Git at some time in their career. And it's usually really hard to get into. And we also made a little trailer. And as you can see, to make it a bit easier to get into Git, we made a sort of a deck building card game out of it. So all your Git commands can be played as cards, and if you don't want to do the card thing, you can also type it into your command line. And I think the biggest challenge for us was to make it work with real Git repositories. So there are real repositories. Well, that glitches. Oops. There are real repositories behind each level, and that was quite hard to do. And this is also currently the reason why on the Windows version it's a bit laggy, because we have to bundle Git with the game, and for Unix OS types, it works out of the box. And we released this on itch.io, which is a platform for indie games, so very, very popular platform. So if you want to try that, feel free to do so. Should work on all major operating systems. And currently we are searching a bit for a bit more funding, because it's playable and it's fun, and we got really nice feedback and a bit of press coverage and stuff. But it would need quite a bit more polishing and maybe more levels and so on. So we're currently searching for a bit more funding to get this going. And currently the GitHub issues are filling up with ideas and suggestions and minor issues and stuff. So if you find something, please tell us. But currently it's a bit hard for us to continue working on it, because we both have also other projects to make a living. But maybe you want to try that. It's really fun. And it's all built around basically a time travel analogy for Git. So you're going to be a time travel agent and solve some funny problems and learn Git in the same time. So I hope you have fun. And the next thing I did, maybe I'm not sure how good this video goes here in this thing. So the next thing, I I worked on was a project to sort of protest against the crappy Corona help funds for artists in Bavaria, so where I live. And in last October, like that's quite some time ago, like half a year ago, more than half a year ago, they promised starting artists to pay out about 5,000 euros in January. And now it's May and we got nothing. But I think a month ago, you could finally start to apply at least to the whole thing. But yeah, like it's not moving forward and they don't really care to do anything. And so as
that
you've
was right
seen,
after you made your project, right? You could start.
Yeah, like they released the appliance form right after I released my project. I'm not sure if that's connected, to be honest, I don't think it is. And when they released it, the form was so broken that you couldn't even send it. So they first had to fix their website. It's so German and it's so horrible. And because nothing is going on, I wrote them an email a week ago and was asking just like, hey, how long will this take? I mean, like maybe Corona's over before I get my help money. And yeah, well, they didn't answer at all. And yeah, well, I was quite angry about all this stuff. And so I came up with a generator because we had a lot of generators today. So I will show my generator now. And this is like,
you are the prime person for that.
I'm the generator person. So that's what's coming out, right? Like a lot of angry fingers.
The encoder does not like that image at all.
You really? Okay, because the encoder doesn't like it, I can just throw in maybe the link in the chat, so you can also make your own angry fingers if you want. There's a little generator for the colored versions. You can just like, make new ones, change the color, whatever you like, change the generation size of that rectangle. Maybe that's too small for you. You're right. So that's the angry finger generator, and I also started to make some stickers out of them, and they look also really really nice. They came out really well. And for the stickers, I always had the problem that I print them myself on vinyl sheets, and the vinyl is a bit it's not as robust as I thought it would be. So it's fine if you stick it on, I don't know, maybe your like something that you don't touch. As soon as you start touching the sticker a lot, like a smartphone or something, the vinyl will tear down super quickly. And then I came about inkjet fixative spray. They are especially marketed for inkjet prints. I'm not sure if that's the thing what's helping me, but so far that makes the stickers way more robust. And that's what I started coating them, and that's awesome, because before I used sort of like how's it called, like a one-sided transparent sticky foil, and that always looked weird and not so nice. Like I like the matte vinyl sticker finish, and so far that fixative spray does a really good job. And yeah, maybe one fun thing to tell about the fingers is that first they made it into local press. So a local newspaper did quite a big print of the angry fingers and did a little article, but I don't think it will change anything about that helping fund policy, sadly. But as you can see, like the fingers, they consist of only one line, and that was interesting to build. And the reason is that when I pen plot them, I need to optimize a bit for speed, and I also need to optimize a bit for the amounts of pen lifts I do in my AxiDraw, because the pen is lifted with a servo motor, and these tend to die rather quickly if you do a lot of pen lifts. And so I decided to make the fingers out of one line, that at least one finger is drawn in one continuous line, and then the pen has to lift and go to the next finger. Yeah, and if you want some stickers, I have a very experimental shop site that is sort of working. If you want some, you can click through there, or if you want pen plots, you can email me. I can send some out. They are really fun to plot, and I love my watching my plotter work. So do that if you want. Are the stickers now all over Landpost in Munich? I don't know. I would love to see them all around the Bavarian government building, maybe. I also thought about like sending some postcards or something out to the people. But yeah, I'm still hoping to get my help fund. I'm not sure if maybe I'm already disqualified. Maybe they already took me out of the fund. I don't know.
You could use a
It's a shit
projector
show.
and beam it onto the building, and then just change the design every 10 seconds or
Right.
so.
Yeah, if they won't answer in the next week, maybe I should make a little trip to Munich. And well, the last thing I wanted to show is I have a new version of the Pico Planets, but I sort of got a bit unlucky again with the timing of this MakerCast, because I was planning to promote a new version here, because now there's a really nice black version of the Pico Planet boards. The ones before were the
So
blue
gorgeous.
ones. They look like these. They are also procedurally generated. And if you don't know them, you can use these planets as capacitive touch buttons and like program this board as a secondary tiny keyboard. And the problem is the black ones are already sold out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It went way too
One
quick.
this year.
Yes, nice, so awesome. That's so
I
cool.
love it.
But in case you still want to get a blue one, I can also throw the link in chat maybe. And yeah, it's so cool to see because, and I think Timon, you were the one suggesting that to me. The finish is awesome. So it's like a clear coating, and the copper comes through like in that reddish tone, and it looks so cool. I've never seen that before on a board, to be honest. So it was a bit of a surprise to me how they came out.
If you hold it at a really shallow angle, it has like this really deep purple red look to it. Like the diffraction changes completely. It's hard to catch on camera. I tried that, but in person it looks even cooler than on camera.
Yeah, right.
It already looks really cool on camera.
I really like them, and they came out super awesome. Really happy with these ones, and I also did a teeny tiny update on the Arduino software. So in case you have one and you coded on them, there's now a fix for the green LED. The PBM did not work on the green LED. I did a mishap there on the pin description, and that's fixed now. So that was updated some time ago, and you should see a pop-up now in your Arduino IDE to update your library. Yeah, so that's what I was up. And other stuff was just a lot of academic conferences and workshops and talks. So in the last months, it was more giving talks and doing actual projects.
Nice.
I feel you.
I'm waiting for my black version of the Pico Planets as well.
All right, did I send them out?
I guess think so. Right? Yeah,
that's
I got
good.
the notification of DHL.
That's awesome, because recently I sent one out, and I think I got an I was just curious to see if everything was going correct, and I saw that one couldn't be delivered. I think that one will come back to me tomorrow, and I can send it out again. Maybe I did a mishap on the address or something.
Mine arrived super quickly. It was like, I think within a day.
Yeah, I figured out that my little tiny village has two post boxes, and one gets emptied super early in the morning and one gets emptied in the afternoon. And I wasn't aware of that, so now I can like always throw in my stuff in the super early box, and then everything goes way quicker.
All right. Do we have any questions, or do we have something more to show?
Not really, to be honest. No.
Okay.
That's all.
Then any questions to any of these projects? Actually, I have like a comment. I love the Git one. Like that's really cool. Like I think they're so. Like, you have resources about learning Git, but I think it's all very cumbersome, especially if you start out. And having better resources to learn Git is really awesome.
Yeah, I think it's always that big problem when you start working on a team. That's often the part where you start to use Git, because for yourself, maybe you don't need the versioning stuff. So it's the first time you get your hands on. It's when you're in a team, and that's also that situation when you can screw up a lot because you don't want to be the person
it's like the worst time to learn it, really.
Yes, exactly. Like you don't want to be the person making that weird merge or making that weird change, and everyone gets angry at you. So I guess having that safe safe space, and that sandbox to play around with some commands is super helpful.
Yeah, that's really valuable. Awesome. Yeah, any more questions? Other one?
Do you think that there's any chance you would ever sell shirts in addition to stickers? Because I would
Oh yeah,
probably wear a t-shirt with
Bitloni was suggesting underpants.
Yeah, well, for my Beatles and bug generator, I wrote a part where you can like generate your bug, and then it goes to Spreadshirt, and you can order it. But I could add this to the fingers, I guess. My biggest problem is that I think I cannot. Like, I have to decide. I can either embed the European shop or the US shop. I need to check out how I can do that switch, because they don't have the same base for some reason.
Is in a short-term hack, you can print iron-on fabric directly from a .bytex printer. You'd have to have high resolution. You can generate whatever resolution you want, I'm sure. But so.
Yeah, good idea. I should try that.
I will buy one.
Yeah, so
that's cool. Yeah, that's good to know.
You also made the logo generator. I just remembered that. Thank you for that.
For 3063, right? Or for this also, yeah, right.
I mean, for the MakerCast, because normally we just hassle Chunky Steve O. I'm not sure if he's in the chat, but yeah, normally we would just get to him like 2 days or 1 day before, and then, can you please make us a logo that we can put on the show link? But now we have a generator.
Oh, the thumbnail, you mean? Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
thumbnail. Right.
I think the generator machine.
Right. It'd be nice to see some, because procedurally generated, where I know I'm always coming at things from a wearables angle, but people like having kind of one of a kind things. I'd love to kind of turn your boards like in a t-shirt. Is kind of the simplest way. But I'm sorry, my dog's trying to come through.
Wants to be part.
Come on, go. But yeah, your boards would make amazing wearables, because everybody could say they're unique for what they are.
Yeah, right.
Like, go. Sorry. Always.
I'm totally in for wearables. So the idea for a thing that I want to try in the next few weeks is like a bracelet. Like, I'm not sure if you know these Celtic bracelets that are like a ring with like some spirals in the front usually. Like they are, as far as I know, they're called Torque, and I know them from reenactment. And I like the aesthetic a lot. And I always wanted to build one that I can connect to my smartphone, and that lets me sense how many people are currently on my website, for example. And I did a similar thing for a university project, but it was like my electronic skills were not that developed at that time. So most electronic stuff did my colleague at that time. But now I think my knowledge base is good enough to build something like this on my own. And I love to try some of these linear actuators that make nice vibration patterns, and it's easier to feel something, I guess. So that's what I want to look into in the next weeks.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, haptics are really interesting. I played with that a little bit, but yeah, it's hard to get the actuators for that. Okay. I think we have no more questions. Then I would say it's up to Deborah now.
Okay, I'm up. So I'm going to talk about two things today, because one I just finished and got working last night, and it's really kind of fun. It's a new wearable. Let me see if I can swap cameras here. I think I can do that. So I didn't make in fact, I can do that there. So I didn't make the board for this. This is Jason Coons, who runs Evil Genius Labs Fibonacci board, which you can't see, but he creates a Fibonacci pattern of LEDs on a circuit board, which makes for really, really nice, beautiful patterns illuminated in a small circuit board space. There's actually 64 LEDs on this circuit board that's this big. And so, of course, it had to be a wearable. And I used an old trick and found a new trick that I was actually really, really happy with. And that's what I want to talk about. So I took the board, and he came up with it. You'll see when it's illuminated, but there's a layer of that tap plastics black diffusing plastic on top, etched with a Veroni pattern that matches the placement of the LEDs, which I got from Jason. And before removing the paper, so I etched it and then colored it with a black, colored the acrylic with a paper still on it, but with gaps where, of course, it was etched with a gold Sharpie, which produces a nice little crackle pattern. Of course, I missed a little bit. You can see it's a little faded there, but it doesn't really show when it's on. But it makes a really nice pattern when it lights up. And so on the back there, you can see a little bit of the board. It's the purple Osh Park. And I always hate like absolutely committing to soldering things together until I'm absolutely sure it's in final form. So I put a cutie pie. Let's see, we're not getting good focus, are we? There's a little cutie pie attached there, but I put one of those little tiny 3-pin connectors on it to connect the cutie pie. So if I want to swap it out, I can. I'd really like to try Pixel Blaze at some point. But the cutie pie is attached on and kind of taped down. And so to power it, there really wasn't a good way to get power behind a board this small. So I decided to try putting the battery behind my neck and wearing the pendant up front. And so the first attempt, so I went to an old trick because I've done this before with wearables that I really liked. I have this infinity mirror cuff bracelet. So I put a battery on one side and there's a cutie pie on the other side of this. But because the cutie pie has the USB-C connector, I actually soldered the power wires of the battery to a USB-C connector. So to turn it on, you just plug it in. And actually, the nice thing about these USB-C connectors is they're so stable and sturdy. It's a functional mechanical clasp as well as an electrical connector. So, and I was actually really happy and proud of this, and I still like it. But if you go, but then I was talking to Jason because I was working with his board. He said, well, what if somebody tried to plug this into their computer? I'm like, God, I hope they don't. So just, it's for me to wear. It's probably not for me to market, but I do love these USB-C connectors. And I think it's neat to kind of use this electrical component for a mechanical purpose. So this was really fun.
It's a really cool idea.
It's such a smart idea, and it looks really cool.
Thanks. Yeah. It does look really cool. It's sleek. These USB-C connectors just look so much nicer than USB-B ones.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about the mirror stuff. Actually, that's the second project, so I'll put this aside. So I knew I was going to use that connector. So I started, I'll show the evolution of this. So my first attempt was I took, you can kind of see it as a little LiPo battery, but if you're going to wear it behind your neck, you don't want it to bend. It has to be big enough to power 64 LEDs for a reasonable amount of time. And it has to be protected. So I laser cut a case. I stuck in like a TPE 4056 charge board. And then I just had to figure out how to make this circuit. So, I soldered on this USB-C connector. And this was, I'm sorry if I'm going to pat myself on the back for this, was a bit of inspired lateral thinking. I'm sorry. I was so happy with the way this worked out. But I found, whereas I used the electronic connector for the mechanical connection, I actually have, these are purse connectors. This is there's the camera. This is actually a magnetic snap that used to close purses. I bought these, I sewed a bunch of purses a long time ago, and I just have a bunch of these left over. So I thought, first of all, it has the conductivity. When I closed it up, it was pretty good. And then, it's really easy to fasten. And, you've got your circuit. And of course, it's not connected to anything because it goes to the USB-C connector, but all I have to do is then plug it in to the cutie pie and turn it over. I don't know if it's close enough to see. Give it a second. Oh, whoops! I put a switch on. See, I put a switch on this one. I forgot. So this one actually has a switch built in.
That's good to have.
Oh, it's good to have. Yeah, it's always good. There we go. And it's gorgeous, right? So it is nice. And I was really happy that you could. It turns out it's not so bad to solder. I wasn't sure what these purse connectors were made out of, but they solder really nicely. I just didn't like this big clunky battery case. So I actually had a nice conversation. There's a Wearable Wednesday once a month at the Crash Space Hackerspace, and they, and I said the problem with these LiPo batteries is, of course, durability and stress. But so they suggested using, something a little more sturdy. So design V2, so I can actually nice. And by the way, the nice thing about this mechanical snap is, oops, there we go, is it under stress. This is a stranded 26 gauge wire. It could break pretty easily, and you don't want, with wearables, you're always really worried about shorts. So under stress, it just the magnet disconnects. So I look at it as it's safer than my usual wearables. Let's put it that way.
That's a really smart idea.
Thanks. So I was really happy with the way that worked out. So then V2, so that was V1. So V2 is actually simpler, although it doesn't have a built-in charger, is I just happen to have this. Also, this is a much bigger battery. It's, because it's round, it's supposedly 12, it's a 16340 LiPo, and had this nice black case. And I managed, actually, it really worked out nicely on the ground side, just to solder on the magnetic end of the clasp. So you have to charge these separately, but it's not hard. And this is 1200 milliamp hours. So here, let me show you. But the nice thing is how the other advantage with this magnetic connector is it's just easy to fasten. Frankly, regular necklaces are hard to fasten behind your back. So I'm going to switch to my other camera and show you, like, oops, wait a second, wrong way. There we go. Hang on. Okay. So let me just plug this in here. And now I'm off that camera. So I'm plugging the USB-C connector in, making sure it is possible, not easy, but it is possible to put the battery in the wrong way around. So obviously I'm pretty careful about that. So ground connector. And the other thing, bad when it's really bad when it's a wearable. That's all. So I take it, and the only other trick is that if you have long hair, it's actually really easy to get your hair caught in between the magnet, which stops it from closing. But you just, but oops, the magnet makes it really, really easy, as long as your hair is not in the way, to close the clasp. And there we go. And I think I have a
so cool.
Your name tag is in the way, but yeah.
Hang on. There we go. I got zoom right here. There we go. Hang on. Yeah. All right. But I love this Fibonacci board, and I love the patterns. This is running at Jason's suggestion. It's running some of the fast LED demo code, just kind of basically directly, and it's really nice. And it runs at about 50 milliamps, so it's not too off this. You can go forever off of this battery right here. I can use a smaller battery. So there's a little bit of a weight imbalance. It does. It is a little bit heavier in back. It sits pretty reasonably. If you're wearing something colored, it just kind of nestles in the color of your jacket. But let me get out of the way here. But it works pretty well. And I can switch to a smaller battery. I have some little. The smallest one I found in that cylindrical shape is a 14250, which is about 300 milliamp hours, which will run still pretty well. Run this, quite some time. So anyway, this made me really happy. So I'll be wearing this for a while. I'll put it on for the next part. So that's the first project. So I see somebody asked about a wire that is necklacey in the comments. So that just popped up. But this is wire I bought just for this project. It's 26 AWG stranded, and it seems okay. And I have to admit, I didn't look up that current, but I'm pretty sure that's sufficient for 50 or 60 milliamps. It shouldn't be a problem at all. I'd be careful about, if you're going to wear like something really, really pumping big, you have to be careful about the current. But this actually was the best wire, the closest to kind of cord like wire I think I found. So 26 AWG stranded wire. I can only find it in black and red, and I don't have to find something to use the red cord for. Okay, so the disc isn't for sale. The Fibonacci disc here of the little shilling for Evil Genius Labs isn't for sale yet. He's got bigger ones, and I think he'll be coming out with it soon. But so that's why it's good to get to know other makers. Find out what stuff is coming out, get to know them, and you can swap it. I'm all about swapping. So I think we need to start like a maker exchange where I have so many old projects, and this is totally off track, but I would love to do like a maker exchange where you put something on saying I've got this old project I'd like to get rid of, and then I could get like an eyeball game for one of my not that you'd part with it, Emily, but for infinity mirror wearable. Okay, so that's the first project. Okay, so let me transition back to that. So, and the second one, so yeah, I'm always embedded in 3, projects at any one time. So, and the nice thing about being a first-time guest on the show is I haven't shown any of them on here. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about my infinity mirrors, which are right next to me. And I think probably the easiest way to show them is actually with this camera, just first directly. I've got an overhead cam too, but that's me. Sorry about the mess. So if I plug these in, this was the first one I made. It's the infinity octahedrons. And there's a definite reason I chose an octahedron. So that's, oh, wow, way too saturated. Okay. Let me see if I can get that. I know.
Typical.
I've got background light. Hang on, that was on before. That helps. Yeah, that helps a lot. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Much better.
Perfect.
Excellent. Okay.
Looks so cool.
That's the first one. Oh, still, yeah. Well, it depends on it's going to cycle through several modes. Some are brighter than others. And the second one is actually running off of Pixelbase. This is V2. And what am I plugging in here? Yes, there we go. And that one's, has got a nice web interface. And so this project started, I'm going to go over kind of the history of this project and a little bit of, because there's a few features in it that I'm, again, they're little subtle features that I was really happy with. Somebody said my workspace is neat. I just thought that, no, it isn't. I swept all horizontal surfaces for this broadcast. So what did I start with? So I loved infinity cubes. I've seen a lot of them, but I kind of thought it had been done as a project. But I didn't really think much about mirrors until I started doing these here. I started doing wearables like this cuff. And it was kind of fun to realize infinity mirrors don't have to be straight. I use this reflective vinyl for this cuff bracelet, and it's 2 layers very close together, but it had enough reflectivity, it was translucent yet reflective, to really give you a nice infinity mirror effect. And then I started to get more interested in it. And then, so that led me back to, well, maybe I should revisit this whole, what else can we do with infinity mirrors? So I of course went through the litany of wearables. Let me turn this one on really quick. I made a little visor because why not?
Oh, that's so cool.
And I actually wrote up here's another bracelet necklace. This actually wrote up a how-to guide, a learn guide for Adafruit with an infinity mirror LED color. And a little, you can kind of see that you can actually. So these detailed instructions are actually online at Adafruit.
I want one. It's so cool.
Thanks. I really like it. It's really fun. So anyway, so yeah, I'm definitely going through a mirrored phase now. So I started to think about, I've been trying to get into, let me go back to I've been trying to kind of move into 3 dimensions with a lot of my projects. I'm really interested in, they're all LEDs. That will probably never change, but I'm starting to move from 2 dimensions to 3. And in a cube, I started looking how to assemble a cube, but cubes are hard to wire because I started researching regular polyhedra, and it turns out that if you start really looking into the mathematics of it, there are things called Eulerian paths and Hamiltonian paths with a regular polyhedra. And an Eulerian path is one that will visit every edge of your shape. You want the LEDs around the edges. An Eulerian path will visit every edge once, but possibly the vertices multiple times. And a Hamiltonian one is the reverse. It will visit every vertex once, but it may possibly traverse the edges more than once. So, it turns out really the only polyhedra you can traverse with an Eulerian path is an octahedron or a tetrahedron, which is less interesting, I think. So I thought, well, maybe I can make an octahedron. And yeah, it's not, so I started looking into construction techniques. And I'm always interested in doing something, but doing it a little bit differently from the way it's been done before. That's, they're definitely, so, and I only found 1 video of an octahedron, but I really wondered how could I put it together? My goal is to really make it as easy as possible too. I love when I can make a project that's easy. So I started with the idea. My first attempt was actually to take mirrored pieces of acrylic, and you know what, I'm going to switch to overhead camera here, hang on. Oh, well, now it's really, I'm going to turn these off. This is really saturated. Hang on. There we go. here's my overhead camera. So you can see so I started with this, I have this clear translucent vinyl back from my sewing days. So I cut it into basically pieces that you could fold into an octahedron, and tried placing mirrors in the middle of each panel, and then found these very foldable LED strip around each side, and could fold it together. And it worked, but not great. And folding the LED strip, especially on a scale this small, was a little problematic. So I actually have this version right here. This is one of my earlier examples. I think I can turn it on. Turn on the light again so you can see it. Hang on. Oh, all right, hang on. Sorry, too many LEDs going on. So here we go. Let's go. There we go. So you can kind of see it worked okay. It's actually not bad. And actually, what's nice about this is that it's almost a project kids could do. It's not super, super hard because the LED strips aren't cut and soldered. It's just bent. And the folding is literally a piece of clear vinyl, that you cut out and fold. And I just taped around the edges to kind of hold everything together. So I like this idea. It just didn't look quite, this would be fun for a project that you do with others, but it's not quite up to the standards I'd want for something I'd display. So that was kind of my early attempt. So then the next was, well, let's construct it out of acrylic, because I love my laser cutter, and anything I can use it for, I do. But my goal with the next kind of iteration was to make as much of the surface, viewable through, like, translucent as possible. So I didn't want it to be, I wanted it to be frameless. Most infinity polyhedra have these large, chunky 3D printed frames. So I decided to do it a little differently. And instead of having a frame to hold the pieces together, I designed these little connectors to hold. So there's nothing along the edges at all, but connectors at the corners. And I pulled this up just to show you. The first design, I think we'll show. Yep, there we go. The first design had a couple things I thought were nice. Is if you just have to get, let me pull this over. You just have to get the angles right. So these connectors right here you can see, they're just two connectors, kind of male and female, that slot together. And then basically they attach by sliding through the panels, the semi-translucent mirrored panels, and with a little screw through the hole holds it in place. And the other nice thing I thought about the panels is, instead of cutting smooth sides to the triangles, which are the sides of a regular octahedron, is I cut notches where all the LEDs are. So the LEDs show very clearly, but the strip is hidden, which I think makes for a very nice effect too. You don't see all the electronics on the front of the strip. And actually, this is version 2. I think version 1, version 1 had a slightly different connector where, it's Tinkercad, but where you actually, I had wire going through the corner to, and the connectors slotted in, but I prefer, this was my final version that I liked very much. So you can see the connectors just poke through the corners of the panels, and you just secure it with a screw and nut. And I don't want to go over my time. I don't know how I'm doing, Timon.
Oh, it's fine. It's all good. Go as long as you want.
All right. Just let me. Well, okay. So those were the design elements I really, really liked, and I made the connectors out of clear acrylic, and I tried with the LED panels to. I tried a lot of people have done it with like clear acrylic and glass and this mirrored film, but I could not. Whoever does it nicely must have more patience than I do, because it was really hard to apply that nicely. So I found a semi-translucent mirrored acrylic that you can laser cut, and that was much easier. So what I kind of like, it actually is kind of a neat effect when you turn it on. I'm going to plug this one back in. This first one is just running off of one of these cheap SP2000E controllers. So I hope, let's see if I can get it a little bit better, make the light a little brighter. Let's see, I think we're at maximum here. There we go. So the patterns are, just, preset, no programming here. And this was V1, and it had 144 LEDs per meter in this strip, and the strip is about 8 millimeters wide, and it was pretty good. But you can see that the corners I had to solder. Let me go to the overhead camera here. Let's see. I don't know if you can see kind of at the corners, the solder joints. You know, you have to solder wires on, and I have to say, it's pretty ugly, and I'm not the best solderer. So it was a struggle to get that actually soldered in place, but I finally did it, and I liked it, but I did not like the way the corners looked. I actually do kind of like the way the clear connectors on the corners kind of, you know, when the lights get over to that point, they kind of glow on their own. I think it's kind of cool. Yeah. So the next version, I found a thinner. So let me turn that one off and switch to the other one. I found a thinner 2020, let's see, LED strip that has 96 LEDs per meter. And I was actually really bummed at first that I didn't get 144 LEDs per meter. But what I found out is if I spaced the LEDs just right, I could turn the corner without splicing. And I was so happy. That was just a really fortunate, happy accident. So this is a single LED strip, except for the place where I broke it, which was really annoying. This is a single LED strip wrapped around, you know, a nice Eulerian path around the edges of the octahedron. So, you know, at this point, I was able to declare it finished and walk away, which was good. It's really, really nicely animated by if you've never seen Ben Henke's Pixel Blaze, I'm going to shill for it a bit because I hadn't used it until this project. I wonder if I can get. I probably can't get both on there at the same time, but it lets you do wonderful things. Like, let me see if I can find here. Let me show you. Here's the. I can't do it at the same time right now, but here is the pattern sequencer, and you can just literally, you can program them in, you can preview them, and you can actually have, I put on a sound sensor board that he sells, and you can have sound reactive animations. I'm going to switch to this one, and I'm going to switch back to, yeah, so now you can see it's sound reactive. Yeah.
Nice.
Which is really fun. So yeah, I have a lot of fun with this one. And I'm quite happy with the way it turned out. And just briefly, the other thing I want to show is I did this one. I usually do fast turnaround projects. This one actually took me a while. Actually the hardest part for me was, let me see if I can, there we go, was just finding the mechanical way to hold the sides together. So I did a lot of experimenting, and I only recently was able to throw out, like, got to the point where I thought, well, okay, I'm done. I can throw these prototypes out. So that is, I think, everything I have to say about that project. Thank you. I'm going to switch back.
It looks fantastic. I really like the effect is really mesmerizing.
Thank you. It's a lot of, here, let me see if I can get it in the frame with me at the same time. There we go. Maybe. So yeah. It's
if I would
nice
have one on my desk, I couldn't do something else than staring at this thing for hours.
It is a bit, you know, this is the longest I've sat, I think, in a maker, any kind of maker podcast without some blinky lights on. I felt almost like naked. It really feels weird. It feels like, I don't feel very articulate frequently, but I feel if there's something visually interesting to look at, nobody's paying as much attention to what you say. And it's a little comforting. It's a bit of LEDs are a bit of a security blanket for me. Anyway, I like having them on.
So cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it is a nice, I know, I wish I could take credit for the design. It's beautiful. It's a really cleverly designed board. You should check out Evil Genius Labs and their Fibonacci boards. I like them, but it's really, really nice to be able to make it a wearable, because you can take your wearables with you.
How just arranging the LEDs differently makes for such a different experience.
It really does.
Do the same with a rectangular matrix. It just doesn't have the same effect.
Yeah, there's a lot of fascinating mathematics about the Fibonacci sequence. If anybody's looking for kind of a deep geometric dive, you can get some interesting things.
It's really horrible to lay something like that out on the PCB. But yeah. I made a sprinkly donut once for this little guy here. And this is the only version that I have because it was very painful to solder on all the LEDs, and yeah, they are all in a circular and kind of flipped way on here. I can maybe show this. So
wow, so you hand soldered that?
Yes.
Yeah, ouch.
I've put on every LED with my soldering iron, so
Ooh.
it was.
So
Not
you
even
didn't
hot air.
reflow it, or no?
No,
Oh,
no
no,
refill.
no.
Oh.
It was really just soldering one pad, then pushing in the LED and soldering the other leg of the LED or pad. Yeah. Circular designs can look very cool, but designing them is tricky. It really is. But yeah, I was thinking of that when I saw your.
So I want to also, like, I've used the Pixel Blades in some of my projects too. I don't know if you guys saw my my VCR that I cut a window on the top of like last month. I cut a clear window on the top of a VCR, and so you could see all the mechanical stuff in the VCR while I was operating. And I put a strip of LEDs inside, and there's a Pixel Blaze controlling it, which is really nice. And the great thing about the Pixel Blaze is, like Deborah said, is that it's you have like a web interface. So that's cool because, like, you know, if I had used like, I don't know, like an Arduino or something to control the LEDs, like I'd be stuck with one pattern unless I wanted to open the VCR up or unless I wanted to like put a USB cable out of the VCR. But since it's got the web interface, I can just go on my computer and change the pattern that is of the lights inside the VCR. So very cool. He sent me an LED cube that's powered by one of his Pixel Blazes, and I have it set for voice reactive right now. So it does things, and they're really fun. Yeah, there you go. It doesn't show up great because the lighting's weird in here, but anyhow, they're pretty
You can
neat.
see it.
But Deborah, I had a question about your platonic solids. I think you had been playing with addressable fairy lights at some point, hadn't you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You want me to here? Hang on. Yes.
So I was curious. I know they're so thin compared to like an LED strip, and I would think they'd be very bendable in a lot of directions. And I wonder if you had played with them at all for your infinity solids because of how low profile they are, how thin they are.
For mine, so yes, well, I've thought about them a lot. Actually, less for that reason. Though, yeah, I've had a lot of thoughts about these LED strings. This is the one I wanted to plug in right here. But as you can see, I think that's visible here. Yeah. That one's in camera range. Less for the difficulty with them is that there's basically 10 centimeter spacing. And you've got all this extra wire you've got to get rid of. So actually, something I did recently, I made a kids project with them. Well, not with those fairy lights, with non-addressable fairy lights. I don't know. I posted on my blog, and I definitely posted on Twitter. I don't know. I just took down all these little fairy light creatures I had rolling around. So here's kind of one that here's the one that's all bent up because I shoved it in a corner. But it's like a fairy light. This is the same kind of thing. It's an infinity mirror flower. This is a great kids project if you can get the laser cut parts, because it uses, like, these are dollar, fairy light wires, and you take the extra wire and bend it around the outside. But the difficulty with projects like this is that it's the same wire spacing on the addressable fairy lights, and you've got to do something with the wires. Now, however, the thing I really, really like, I'm sorry, I'm going too long, I know, but just the thing that's really, really cool about, there's two main kinds of these really thin wire LED strands. One is pretty standard, like works like regular LED strips, and the other one is fixed address, meaning that if you cut the LED out of the strip and move it somewhere, it remembers what its position was, which makes it impossible to use part of a strand. Because if you cut off like the last 10, like one of my big fairy light creations uses like the first 192 LEDs in those last LEDs. You just got to check, because otherwise in software you have to compensate. You have to like create a 200 pixel. Those pixels will forever remember their position as, pixel 193, pixel 194, pixel 195, and you've got to create an empty dummy array to program them. But the possibilities for that, for like, what I really, really want to do is make like a tile. I want to put them inside. I want to actually use those as kind of through hole LEDs on a series of circuit boards that you just put on because you could have a signal bus. You don't need to have the output of one change to the input of the other. So I want a grid with a power ground and signal bus that you could just rearrange them on, just like almost like light bright, except with LED tiles, if that makes sense. Yeah. So those, so if you put them inside kind of a tile, you can tuck the wires away. I don't really feel like cutting and soldering. But the difficulty with those in like wearables and other, infinity mirror problems is just the extra wiring. If somebody would manufacture those with really, really short spacing, I would use them in a heartbeat because the wires are really elegant and pretty. And like, something like this, like as a kid's project, it's fun. You can use the wires as decorative elements. I do like them for wearables. So.
That's really cool. I wonder how those LEDs work on, like, did you ever find it out, like how they work? Like,
how do they
do that?
Adafruit sells them, and they talk a little bit about them. And if you look if you have to scroll way back, I can put a link to that somewhere. I did some experiments with them, and some other people have experimented with them. There's like a one-time write or something where they pick their own address out of the stream. But the ability to not have to, chain them together end to end gives you some really interesting mechanical configuration possibilities that I'd really,
sure.
That's in the back of my head for a project. I've got some ideas. I've yet to execute, but.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, those are really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing more projects with that. All right. Do we have any more questions for Deborah? Let's look in the chat here. Okay. Right. I also have to show stuff. I forgot.
Oh, yay!
Well, I mean, I didn't really work
15
on anything else than the same old thing I'm working on for 5 months now. So if you've watched the past 2 MakerCasts, I've been working on a product which is called the Pioneer. And just quickly, for those who haven't seen it yet, it's a carrier board for the Raspberry Pi Compute Module 4. And it comes in an Arduino Uno form factor. And it's like intended for like electronics prototyping application. So it comes with an ADC, has a stemmer QT. What? What did you?
Go big or go home.
Oh, right. I should make myself bigger. Yes. Thank you for reminding. Right. So, we have a stemmer QT or quick connector up here. Which, if you don't know that, it's like a standard for I2C. So you can just plug. Let me see if I have some laying around here. I do. So you get these from like Adafruit and SparkFun. It's like these little sensor breakouts. If you focus on that. And the nice thing is you can daisy chain them actually. So you have like an in and out connector, and it really makes like wiring with I2C a lot easier. So you can just plug it in here, and you don't have to like need a breadboard or anything. You just have a sensor hooked up. It's like a magnetometer, and then you can like plug another one in here and go as long as it's electrically possible, I guess.
Yeah.
I love those, so that was like important for me to add. And yeah, it got all the typical Pi stuff, so HDMI, USB-A, and one like what I like most about this is you unfortunately you have only one USB port on the Compute Module 4, which is like, if you don't know that one, I should have told you about that. It's like a Raspberry Pi 4 in like a headless form factor without any connectors on it. So you can like make new form factors like this one. And it only has one USB port, and I added a little switch here, which allows you to switch the data lines of the compute module to either the USB-C port or the USB-A port. And what that allows is you can actually use this as a USB device. So you can plug this into your computer. And I'm currently writing a little bit of software so that the Pi actually shows up as a mass storage device and as a serial port device, so that you can use it the same way as you can use CircuitPython dev boards. So you don't have to like set up HDMI monitor, keyboard, and all that kind of stuff. Because I'm actually really interested in having Linux more accessible for like electronics prototyping. And yeah, that's like my take on that. And it's currently on CrowdSupply. I'm running a crowdfunding campaign, so if you are interested in that or want more information, you can head over onto CrowdSupply. It should be on the front page. I think it's 9 more days. Yeah, and this is actually the first, it just came last week, the first prototype that comes from my factory. So they have assembled that for me. And yeah, it looks actually quite sweet. It's like a very matte black finish, which I always like. And all right, I also got PCI Express and camera for those that are interested in that. Yeah, that's it.
great.
Awesome board.
I want to emphasize, because it didn't occur to me, like, again, I'm not as, I tend to build things more mechanically than, like, kind of at lower computer levels, that how cool it is to be able to plug that into your computer and use it as a drive. Like, first when CircuitPython came out, I didn't really understand why would you do it. And then when I saw how nice and how interactive and how easy it was to just see this connected separate device on your computer as a drive and use it, I'm used to it now. I'm spoiled. I really, really like it. To be able to do that with the Raspberry Pi would be so awesome, because connecting headlessly to a Raspberry Pi, or just, remembering to start up a VNC server and all those things is such a pain. I really, really, really want to be able to just plug that Raspberry Pi into my computer.
I always forget to do that.
Always.
And then find out the IP address in your router to connect to it, or yeah.
Always. So that, that's a much cooler feature than you make it sound like. I just want to say you're underselling.
Yeah, no, it's like, I've been working with the Pi since the very first revision, like 10 years ago, and it's I have these pains. Like, it's in my day job. I work with the Pi all the time, and it just these small things are so painful. Also, like just if you work with electronics, you connect stuff with cables and stuff all the time, and want to like connect quickly to stuff. So like not having silk screen on there, like on the Pi you have just this 40-pin connector, and yeah, just adding on the back it's more visible. Just having like readable silk screen that tells you which pin is which. It's such a simple thing, but not having to look up a website and then counting pins on this large connector to find out the correct one, and you doubt if you counted correctly, and then I count again, and yeah, I've been there so many times, so this is very much also a product for myself.
And me. So, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Right. Maybe I should thank you, Alex, for posting the link.
How long is the crowd supply campaign going to run?
For 9 more days, I think, when I last checked.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so now it's like I'm going into beta tests. I produced 11 boards. Some of them going to the US to some people, and some in Europe. And yeah, I just want to collect some more feedback, and yeah, maybe people find bugs or stuff like that. Just I'm trying to send it to very different people, so like that they maybe use it differently to get everything ironed out, because I want this to be very, very effortless. So any like hiccups I just want to get out before I make the big production run. But yeah, even then, like currently it's looking quite grim in terms of like chip availability and stuff. I pre-bought some of the more important stuff because of that, but even mechanical parts are starting to get a bit tricky to source with all of the component shortages going on. But yeah, let's see how that goes. But I'm quite hopeful that they can ship on time.
Maybe you could swap in some purse magnets for some of the parts.
That would be actually a cool mount. I would love that. Like if I had an SMT placeable thing like that, you can just plug it into a board. It's like it's a cool mount.
Yeah, we totally need an SMD purse mount. Purse mount. Yes.
I'm on it.
Whom can we talk to manufacture such a thing? Is there someone in the chat who has connections?
Okay, do I have let's see, any questions? Yeah, I don't know, is there anything you want to talk about? Maybe we still have, I think, some time left. If you have any like topics recently that have been living in your mind rent free. I did not prepare a quiz, if Bitlooney is asking. I had no time this weekend, unfortunately. But
I want to know what everybody's working on next. I always want to know what's in progress.
Yeah, I would like to hear that. Yeah, if anyone has new plans.
What am I working on next? I have. Let me grab it. A friend of mine gave me this thing a couple weeks ago. It's a film viewer for like. What you do is like you put 8mm film, a roll of it, and it's sort of like a projector, except that like instead of being motorized, you just crank these little handles, right? And like instead of it projecting onto a wall, it projects the film onto this screen right here. I don't have a need for that. She gave it to me, and it looks really cool. So what I want to do is see if I can put an LCD screen, like strip an LCD screen of its backlight, and then put the LCD screen inside of here, because there's a little light bulb over here that shines all through a bunch of mirrors and then up onto the front here. I'll see if, I don't know if you'll be able to see it if I plug it in, because it's kind of bright out right now. But
that looks so funky.
Awesome.
Okay. Getting caught on it. Let's see. Can you see anything? Kinda. You can kind of see.
Oh yeah.
The screen lights up, right? And if there was a piece of film in here, you'd see the image on here. Well, I was playing around with an LCD screen, because LCDs are, they're transparent if you take the backing off of them. And I had a damaged one, so I like disassembled it, and it's gonna be hard to see through it, but like trust me when I say like this is transparent, or at least translucent.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see if I could fit one of these behind that Fresnel lens screen, and then like turn that thing into like some sort of a viewer. I don't know. I was kind of thinking about like doing some generative art with it. I had a couple ideas. Like I have a barcode scanner that I got at a thrift store, and I thought it'd be kind of fun maybe to like use a barcode scanner. And if you scan a barcode, it takes the number from the barcode and uses that as like a seed for generative art. So you scan different things and you get different like art things displaying on the screen. Or I also have an RFID reader, and I thought it might be kind of cool to like use that as the seed for the generative art. So whatever input you give it, it'll display a different thing on the screen. But I'm like so very at the beginning of it right now. I don't know where it's going exactly, but that's like a rough idea of my next project.
I already love it.
Cool.
It's actually how they do these really cheap projectors. It's like off-the-shelf LCD. They rip off the backing and then just shine some LED through it.
Yeah.
I think that will work really well. Awesome. Anyone else who wants to give a sneak peek?
Yeah, I think I teased mine already, right? Like the digital information sensing necklace thingy, but that's also in a super early stage. So I'm currently sourcing for the actuators. And when I have some, I will do some testing where I can place them and how good they work in feelings, so that I can feel stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool. So I'm going back to, I'm trying to work my way back to PCBs, because I had some PCB projects I did a while ago. I did a bunch all at once and kind of just abandoned them all. And so now I'm picking them up again. But of course, once you start with PCBs, you just kind of keep going. So I had made some with edge illuminated LEDs that are like, this is like hard to see, in different shapes to use as wearables, because the edge lighting, and I put a little bezel around them and filled them with resin, and I really like the effect, but it was never got perfect. But I'm working on kind of designs for those, and it took me a while to figure out the power supply, and it turns out the best power supply was 2 coin cell batteries. The combination of wearable, still flat, and still enough voltage and everything, so that limits how small you can make it. I want to go smaller, but I think I'm kind of like all the design decisions are made. So now it's just back to actually making something the right shape and size. And I want to get back to that.
Cool. That's cool.
So I was earlier talking about instruments, and the thing that I bought, I just unplugged it.
Oh, wow.
This is the Korg MS-20 that I bought with the money that got refunded from the May Contain Hackers event that isn't happening this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was looking for a present for myself to make myself happy for a minute. I was just showing this off because I'm still working on creating a case for the what is it called? The Poly 555 by Oskatone.
Mhm.
I recently, well, it's been a while already again, but I ordered just the PCBs from JLC PCB and then just put on every parts that I had in my drawers anyway. And then I thought it might be nice to have a cute little case. And I've already laser cut the parts, but I still need the keyboard for it.
Cool.
So
Nice.
It's,
yeah,
that looks
I
sweet.
hope it. I hope I will have the motivation to work on the keys, because you kind of have to find the right angle and the right position for the buttons and the keys, and yeah. But I really like the wooden panels already, so that's what I will work on again at one point. I swear.
Nice. I probably won't have a lot of time this month for doing stuff because I will probably be moving soon. However, my channel passed 1,000 subscribers 2 weeks ago, and I was told that it's kind of mandatory to build some kind of subscriber counter for that. So I was thinking I could maybe do a subscriber-controlled cat toy or something, because people were also asking to see more of my cats. So that might be my next project.
Like every
Awesome.
time someone subscribes, they get a treat.
Yeah. Oh well,
It would be very, very fat at some point.
not a
That's
treat,
genius.
but they love to play with these pipe cleaners, like
Oh,
these short things. And I thought maybe some servos and put them in a 3D printed case. I think they would love that.
nice. Awesome. Yeah, well, I will be busy with Sayonara, I guess, for quite a while, actually. It's the design itself took like 3 days, and everything else takes a year. So
Yeah.
it's surprising how much effort that is to bring something to market. But I do want to get back to some hacking or I don't know. I need some distraction from this project. It's quite over-encompassing all my free time at the moment.
Nice.
Right. I think, I mean, we've hit 2 hours. I think that's a good time. It's been really fun. It was amazing projects this month. I loved all of them. Thank you all for joining. And thank you all for showing all your cool projects. And
We have
Yeah,
a
see you
Twitter
all
thing
next.
and an email
oh,
thing.
right, yeah. Thank you.
And we have a next host.
And like and
Right,
subscribe.
yeah.
Like and
So-
subscribe.
Like and
Only
subscribe.
415
Next month it is hosted
subscribers.
by Bitloomy, so go over to Bitloomy's channel or subscribe him or whatever, and to be notified. Also, go to Twitter and follow our account there if you want to get notified when the next Makecast is happening, because Makecast is hopping from YouTube channel to YouTube channel, whoever is hosting. So just subscribing to one person doesn't really get you notified. So you can go over to Twitter and follow @theMakerCast. Or if you're not on Twitter but still want to be notified, we also have a newsletter, which I will post in the chat. That is on tinyletter.com/makercast. Here. And then the Twitter account is posted here.
Pass my finger on.
There you go. Oh, no, it's gone now. There you go.
Right, follow that, and yeah, you won't miss another one, because we often hear that people kind of don't miss out that it's happening because it's always hopping around. So we set up some of these channels. At some point there will also be a website, but yeah, it's all kind of makeshift. So at some point we will get to that.
It's only been 2 years.
Always in the making.
If you keep moving it around, they can't catch you and shut you down. So yeah.
So yeah, please like and subscribe and check out all the links from all the guests in the description. And yeah, see you next month. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Timon. Thank you, everyone.
See you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye bye.